Welcome to Conspiracies Against Wellness with your host, Jonelle Elgaway.
Go ahead, Claudia.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Conspiracies Against Wellness on Claw 360 Network. I'm your host tonight, Claudia Merandi, and tonight we're turning the tables, and I have the pleasure of interviewing our beloved Jonelle Elgaway. Jonelle has dealt with rare and painful diseases with chronic health issues for over 25 years. This is the first time she's interviewed with us, with me, with anybody, and will publicly discuss her journey. So there's two ways to listen in tonight's program. You can visit the website, www.cawnation.com, or YouTube channel, Conspiracies Against Wellness live stream, or you can call into the studio at 415-915-2291. And now I'd like to introduce Jonelle Elgaway. Hey, Jonelle.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Claudia.
Hi, Jonelle. So I know tonight is difficult because this is the first time that you're sharing your story publicly. And whenever we share our stories publicly, we become vulnerable. And vulnerability is never easy, I know for myself. So I wanted to take some time out and discuss your story with you. So we just discussed you've been in North Carolina for roughly about 5 years. And I want to go back to briefly in high school. Let's go back to around that time. Were you a healthy kid when you were in high school?
Yes, I was always healthy, and I was super athletic and competitive. Since I was like 4 or 5 years old, I started playing softball, played soccer, went on travel teams. But then when I got to junior high, I was allowed to play field hockey. And field hockey was what I truly have a love and passion for. And in 8th grade, I got invited to go to this camp. And I didn't even realize what it was at first. But what it was is it was for the selection to get into the Olympics eventually. So I worked my tail off, so for up north for field hockey, we had it during the fall season. And then in the spring season, I'd play softball. So in the fall, I played field hockey for my high school. And then afterwards, I would start traveling to different colleges to go ahead and play and compete with the nation's greatest. And I did so well that when I was 16 years old, I actually won a spot on the junior Olympic team. But sadly, the week before the junior Olympics, it was June 4th, 1994, I was coming home from softball practice, and I just stopped and got gas, and I was making a left-hand turn. I was stopped. There's some oncoming cars, and that's it. That's all I remember. Later, I started to have, flashbacks a little bit, and I guess the first thing I remembered was somebody said, how are we going to get her out of here? And I heard them cut my seatbelt. It was like in and out. So what happened was a guy hit me from a rear end going 55 miles an hour, didn't touch the brakes, nothing. It was bad. And, it's funny, I remember the song I was listening to. I was listening to, is it 3 Little Birds by Tom Marley? 3 little birds outside my doorstep. Anyway, I was in a 1981 Volkswagen Rabbit convertible, and I had the top down, and a guy 3 cars back him and his son pulled over on the berm because my car was ejected about, I don't know, like 50 yards forward. It went into oncoming traffic. It did a whole 180 and then, or actually 360, and then I ended up facing the way I was going again, but on the berm. And a guy and his son behind me thought I was out in the fields. They thought I was ejected, so they were looking out in the fields. Luckily, this one man, Jason, he actually was a volunteer fireman from my high school, actually. He came over, and I guess I was like slumped down, and I wasn't breathing, and he stabilized my neck and put it up, and I didn't even realize this, but I guess I punched him and I broke his nose because, like, I had this reaction suddenly of, and I hit him. I have no memory of it at all. I do remember I was life flighted in a helicopter. I do remember thinking I was in a dream, and I remember all the people, they had camouflage on, but I'm sure it wasn't like that. And it's interesting too. I don't know if you believe in God or anything like that, but my great grandmother, I saw a picture of her like 10 years ago, and I remember like everything was very cloudy around, but I remember this lady in this light blue dress with brown hair, and it was her. She looked exactly like her. And I told my mom that, and she always gets chills. So I think it was my great grandmother, maybe. I don't know. The doctor said that I should have at least died or been paralyzed. So I don't know how I made it out, but I did. The other thing he said was probably because of how good of shape I was in. So I broke my C3, C4 vertebrae, and I was in the hospital for 9 days. And school wasn't out yet, so I had to finish school up. And then after that, it was a really lonely summer, I wasn't allowed to play in the Junior Olympics. I thought my whole life was over with. Everybody was off swimming or going out and traveling and doing stuff, and I had to sit at home. They put me in a 2-post brace, which I wore 24/7. I couldn't take it off. They literally lock you in it. And it was either that or they were going to put I forget what it's called. It's the one where they put the bolts in your head. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's a halo.
A halo, yes. And my dad actually lied to the surgeon and said, you know what, my daughter, she is like the most, chill person. She doesn't like doing a lot, so don't worry, she won't move. Really, I was training to play on the Junior Olympic team, so... but luckily I was able to walk, and I did, and my dad got me a dog. And, I'm so thankful for everybody that, I got so many cards and so much outpouring of love from the community. They did programs, like the specials on TV and stuff like that of me locally, and it was just really, really nice. I actually, so that was June 1994. By the following spring, I was actually up and starting to work out and compete again. And I had to sit on the sidelines my junior year for field hockey and for softball. But, my senior year I was able to play. And thank goodness I, got into all these camps and stuff like that and, made these teams, because if I didn't, I would have never even known. Like, nobody would have ever known me, because I was able to get a field hockey scholarship to the Ohio State University. But, I feel a little odd sometimes when I talk about this, but I had like every college in the country trying to get me to go there. So I was like one of the top in the nation at what I did, which was being a goalie. Oh, I'm not talking right. Oh, there. That's so much better. Thank you. So yeah. And then in 1996, before I graduated high school, I made the B Squad Olympic team for field hockey. So I played on the national team. I played on, that. And then in 96, I went to college in this fall and played there. So, and, the story goes on. I don't know if I should keep talking. What else can I? Are you there? Claudia? Is Claudia there?
I don't hear her. It says she's here, but I don't hear her. She's
Okay. Well, I'll just keep talking, I guess. I could see you, Claudia, but I can't hear you.
Yes.
You know, if you have to, you could call into our studio line.
Well, hang on a second. Let me see if I...
Okay, I apologize. So anyway, I'll just keep talking for a moment here. So, okay, so yeah, so I was very athletic. I loved sports. I was a huge adrenaline junkie. I mean, if I could jump out of planes, go scuba diving, go doing whitewater rafting, whatever I could do, I loved it. So it was a real blow to me for that. But, you know, I did come back. So I played for 3 years in college, and then my third year, it's just my neck was just hurting me so bad. So I just kind of had to let it go. And that was very hard. You know, I mean, you know that you have to quit playing at some point, but I just wasn't prepared, I guess. And then what happened is then I graduated college. I worked as an undercover agent at a private law enforcement firm. And then I managed their some other things. And by the way, if Claudia comes back on, just pop right in, please. And then, Then I started working for JP Morgan Chase in the mortgage department and did mortgages. And then after that, I finally I couldn't sit at a desk any longer. So I created my own business and I started flipping houses. And that was 2003. And in 2003 is when I was in my second accident. And, you know, at that point I had Raynaud's disease, degenerative disc disease. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was it. So then 2003 happened and I went out with coworkers. And then when I came home, is that Claudia?
No,
okay. Oh, I could hear your feedback. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, Claudia, by the way, if you want to call back in, you can at 415-915-2291. Just letting you know. Okay. So, let's see. I'm not used to being on camera and talking by myself, so I apologize. I get nervous. So let's see, where was I? Okay, so I was in a second accident. It was a Friday night, and I wanted to go home early, and I was a passenger in a SUV, and the guy ran a red light, and we got T-boned. I don't remember any of it again. We were all knocked out. I woke up in a hospital, and I was in shock. And they released me, actually. So I went home, and Saturday morning I woke up, and my left arm was completely, dead. It didn't move. It just hung. My neck really hurt really bad right in the back, but, I had no feeling. So Monday came around, and I went to my doctor, and he's like, "Sweetheart, you need to go see a neurosurgeon." So I got in to see a neurosurgeon on Wednesday, and then within 30 minutes, they had me in emergency surgery. At the time, they didn't let me know how bad it was, but basically, again, I was not supposed to, I would have been paralyzed for the rest of my life. My C4 and C5 collapsed, basically, and was impinging on my spinal column. So that is when I developed fibromyalgia. Let's see. There's a lot of lists. I got PTSD from that. And yeah, it was pretty rough, you know. And hey, Brian, do you want to text Claudia and let her know to call me?
I don't have her number. Is she at 401?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want Claudia on too because I feel very strange being alone. Oh, hi.
All right. I don't know. Hey guys, I don't know what happened. We had everything worked out so perfectly, and then sorry about that, folks. Sometimes things like this happen.
Yeah.
So, Jonelle, I'm listening to your story, and I'm absolutely shocked because I had no idea you had been through all of this. Because just hearing your field hockey, your achievements in high school, Junior Olympics, college, and then everything for you changes in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you're thrown into your, so right around, how old are you now, Jonelle?
I am 40. I'll be 41 in March.
So from the time you were 16 until present time,
yep,
you've had pain.
Yeah.
It's been a life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a lifelong thing of pain. And, you know, like the biggest thing is that like my neck, it just felt like forever a stabbing, like somebody was taking a knife and just stabbing me right in the back of the neck. You know, and that second accident in 2003, that's what led to like all my surgeries. So I've had 5 neck surgeries now. I'm fused from my C3 to C7. I have 4 rods at my C6, 7, and I had a lumpectomy at C6, 7. And, you know, that brings on a bunch of health issues, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, in 2009.
Yeah, well,
go ahead. I'm going to be jumping around, so please pull me in.
Nope, that's okay. That's okay, because this is, you know, for both of us, this is a learning experience. So when you're going through all of this pain, and every time you go into the hospital and you leave the hospital, when do you start to have any PTSD? Because I know when being in and out of a hospital, that PTSD for me, and I know for others that suffer with pain, that sometimes that's worse than the illness, is the post-traumatic stress that comes along with the gig of being a person, right? And pain.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, there's that factor of it, but it's also, I have PTSD of like being in cars, especially like when I'm not driving and somebody else is. I literally will see somebody hit the car and like we're in an accident, and like I flip out. It's really, really bad. I try to like work on it.
You know what I'm thinking about? When I was in that horrible accident, you were on speaker the whole time.
I know.
And as you're saying this now, I'm bringing, and I think, oh my, you're saying this story. You were the only, you heard that horrible accident, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Of all the people to be on the speakerphone, you heard that accident.
Well, I'm just so glad that you are okay. You know, like I was just scared because all I heard was you screaming. You know, and then. Like that, and then somebody picked up the phone and said, "You call me later." So,
yeah, but then you had to go through that twice in your life.
Yeah,
and I know. I mean, I just know it took me forever to get back on the road and to get confidence, and I couldn't be a passenger. So now you're going through this PTSD. You have pain. I would imagine you were married. Right? I think you were married before.
Yeah.
And I know when you're sick and you're in a marriage, that's another burden that you have to go through as a sick person. When you were married, did that take a toll on your marriage?
Oh, yeah.
Being in pain and...
Yeah, because we met like in 2004, I think. And it was like a year after my accident. It took me like 2 years to get my arm back, you know what I mean? So I went through major physical therapy like 3 times a week, and then on top of it I was supposed to be doing stuff every day. So but when I met him, you know, it was after my first surgery. I hide very well what is wrong with me, and I, you know, but you know, while we were married I had 5 surgeries on my neck. Well, four with him. The one before I didn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it took a really bad toll on us. And, you know.
You want the picture?
I'm sorry?
You want the picture?
Yeah, sure. Put up. Brian's going to put up some pictures of stuff I brought too. But, yeah, so, yeah, it's just, you know, and then not only that, I'm so young, and doctors look at you like, because I look normal. So doctors kind of like give you a hard time when you start going to doctor appointments. And I felt like it was like a full-time job, you know. And my second neck surgery go ahead, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're not complaining when you're at the doctor's office, you know, some doctors have pain patients that complain all the time, and then there's people like yourself, because I know even when you and I are on the phone, you don't, you know, I'm like, Jonelle, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And you're like, oh, nothing, I'm fine. So you have I'm finers, and then you have, you know, the people that are very vocal. And sometimes the I'm finers, we don't get treated the way other people get treated because we're not complaining. So when you see a doctor for your pain, how have these doctors been? How have they treated your pain, say the past 5 years? Have you received the necessary pain treatment? Has it been a battle for you?
It's been everything from no treatment to wonderful treatment. I've been very lucky. Currently, I finally found somebody to treat me and, prescribe the correct medications that I need. But, that's just one of like a slew of things that I do, to make sure that I can have the best quality of life, because that's what this really is about, and my neurosurgeon told me at one point, he's like, Jonelle, he's like, this is the best you're going to get. He's like, so do whatever you can at this point and don't worry about it anymore. Like, he's like, don't worry about the medication, because I was afraid to take the medication. And it's something else I did too in the beginning. I would do everything that the doctors would tell me to do, and I think that actually hurt me because, this is before the era of like internet, good internet and stuff. And like, I'm scared to death. There's no playbook that we get when something like this happens suddenly. So I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do, But I mean, having 13 neck injections and stuff like that, like now I come to find out after 3, your soft cell tissue starts breaking down. My second neck surgery, it was a failure actually. My cadaver bone was coming out of my neck. So I had to have 2 neck surgeries back to back within a month. And that was in 2006. And it was 6 or 7, shoot. It was 7. Yeah, 7. And I mean, that's, you talk about depression. I figured out what depression was. I mean, it was the worst thing. I literally had to teach myself how to get up again, brush my teeth, brush my hair, talk to people. I mean, I didn't want to live. I mean, when you start crying when you're watching a commercial for a Visa commercial, it's really bad, and it's just like, I literally could not watch anything that had anything to do with death, murder, negativity, nothing. Like, so basically I had to just put everything positive. It was just a bad, rough time, and something I feel bad for. And I think a lot of people that are just experiencing this, first of all, you're trying to figure out how to cope with this. You don't know, who to believe. You're hearing all these different things. Doctors want to make you into their little guinea pig, And then on top of it, I mean, it's just like you feel terrible and everybody around you, they just don't get it, No. And
sometimes when you're sick like that, people get tired of you because you're sick.
Exactly.
I know as a sick person, people are like, well, she's always sick, so we're not going to bother. Oh, I would have called you, but you're always sick, or you're always in bed. So, and then I mean, the friends go away.
Yep.
Your man leaves.
Exactly, because
you're like
nobody.
You're like, where is everybody?
Well, after a while, when people stop, like you would have to cancel last second because our lives are, well, at least mine. It's second to second sometimes. Like my health can change, like with pain and everything like that, and how what I'm able to do. So, like, I mean, people just don't understand. And I would tell them, hey, it's not you, but then they stop calling you. So so you become extremely isolated, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like a living hell, but you're alive still, Yeah,
I think when you're a person in pain, the worst thing is to be left with your own thoughts and nothing else.
Yes.
Because then you're a prisoner and you have nobody around you unless you have your pet, and everything's gone if you lose your job. And before you know it, you're in your house and it's just you and your thoughts. And that's hell on earth because everybody's at work and you're stuck at home and now you're in pain. And then you have rebuilt yourself because you never complain. When I talk to you, you never complain. And I'll be on the phone with you and you're out there playing with your chickens and your hens and your turkeys.
Well, this is how I think of it. I know, I love the chickens. This is how I think of it, though. You literally have to rewrite everything that you knew. You have to find your new loves and likes in the world, and you have to find a new way to do the things that you did. And also, obviously, and you have to learn to say no. I was very bad at saying no, like, and I would re-injure myself a lot. But something that like I learned over time is to say no, or also there's a few things like I love to go fishing. So I know I'm going to hurt for sometimes a week or longer after I do it. But you know what? It makes me feel alive and I love it. And it's something I want to do. So I do it, you know?
And and you know, it's so good because for the mind.
Yeah, it's healthy.
Because just because you're in pain, it doesn't prevent you from living. And
it's just different.
I see that with you. I see on your Facebook, I see you holding a large bass in your hands, and then I see you with your chickens, and I said, look at this girl. She's in pain. She's not complaining. She's living her life. She's got a positive mind, positive soul, positive attitude, all of that together. That positivity, it really works in your favor because you have two choices I was only in I thought that accident was going to kill me. Your accident, if I had to be cut out of a vehicle and then put on a helicopter and then be subjected to 9 neck surgeries, I could,
5.
And I say I couldn't do it. And then you've done it and you're here and that PTSD, how is your PTSD now? Like, what triggers you? Because I know your listeners, they have PTSD. And for a lot of people going to the emergency room, no, I'm not going to the emergency room. I'm not going to, I hear that from people all the time.
Yeah. And I'm afraid to go to the emergency room. Like the last time I went was when I had pancreatitis, acute pancreatitis. And like, it was so bad at that point. It was like day 3 of it. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So I went and I was in the hospital for 9 days with it. It was very painful. So whoever has pancreatitis disease, man, that's a pain. Like it's a different pain. But like, yeah, and even then they kept asking me, oh, are you an alcoholic? And they would ask people that would come in that would visit me, hey, is she an alcoholic? Does she drink a lot? Like, is she a drug addict? Like, it's just so difficult. The atmosphere that we're living with and living in and on top of it, like we're having to figure it out on our own, but then to have everybody around us doing the same thing, it is hard. So yeah, it does give you almost a PTSD. And I mean, I don't know how, but the heavens somehow opened up and like let me find a doctor. But I've been searching and searching for years and years. And the thing is you can't give up. You just can't give up. And you have to rely on your friends and you have to like let people in once in a while. And, of course I do complain once in a while, but I'm just not one of those people. I felt like that drove so many people away and I want people around in my life. But all of this is, you kind of get post-traumatic stress from everything. And I know so many of us deal with it,
Well, you've got the depression aspect of being a sick person. And then I know my depression was, I never thought I'd get out of a black hole. And I think you and I approach depression the same way. I started delivering Meals on Wheels, and I think you started with your Conspiracies Against Wellness. And I think that's how you start. Is that how you started to find your way out of your dark hole? Because I think if your listeners knew some tools how they can find their way out of their black hole, that could, that helps a person.
Right.
I couldn't find my way out of my black hole.
Well, yeah.
So how did you find your way out?
Well, it's been a long time. 2006 was and 7 and 8 was my rock bottom, I would say. And, like I said earlier, what I started to do was surround myself with only positive things. I wouldn't watch things that I couldn't, like murder and death and stuff like that. I started to be careful on who I let into my life, friends-wise, family. If they weren't supportive, then I didn't hang out with them, because it just wasn't worth it to me. And then I started to get back into working out regularly, walking. I learned stretching and breathing exercises. I
what is it called? Mental, what is it? Where you just think and you close your eyes. So bad.
Meditation?
Meditation, thank you. Yeah, I have that ADHD. Sorry. Yeah, but meditation, I started to find things I'd like again. The thing is I think, I don't know if this would be horrible to say, but I'm not just the normal person that just got sick. Like, I was so active, so this really, like, cut me off, I mean, I was cut off by the head. And it was very hard for me to transition and learn to cope that I would not be able to do that stuff anymore. And it's okay now with me. I think coping is a huge thing. Also, getting out into the air and breathing and getting fresh air. Animals are wonderful. Like, I have a little dog and a cat, and they're the best. The chickens, and my boyfriend has 3 dogs and chickens and stuff like that, and I love them. I think it's really important that we stay active and, keep just a positive mentality and have a focus. So I created Conspiracies Against Wellness in 2017. Yeah, May 2017 was the first time we went on air. I started messing around with like a Facebook group. It was Wellness for Chronic something or other. I can't remember now. I started that in like 2015 when I found out I had CRPS, Complex Regional Pain Syndrome, because that every time I feel like you get a new disease that you find out about, it's like a hit. A blow to your head, and you fall flat on your face. But what I've learned is, let yourself feel it for a bit, and then pick yourself up and keep going. Because if you don't, I remember that dark hole I went into in 2006, and when I start seeing symptoms or my behavior that's going back that way, or somebody says something to me, then I know, okay, yeah, I have to like get a hold of myself here, because I never want to go back there again, And I'll be honest with you, I lost my medicine for a while, and I was thankful to find a doctor, but my pain management doctor here that I went to since I started, he just released me suddenly because it happened twice. The one time I went to him and he didn't tell me he changed the amount that he was giving me, and I went home and I filled it, and it was lower. And then he did it again the next time. And he didn't just say anything. So the next time I went in, I said something to him. So within 3 days, I received a letter. We no longer think, this is a good fit. And, we're happy to help you find a addiction clinic or whatever, but you can't come here anymore. So that was that.
An addiction clinic?
Yeah.
Why an addiction clinic? That was
Why?
So this is in North Carolina. So that was their only alternative, was the addiction center.
Yeah.
So you were forced tapered.
I was.
You didn't even know it.
Yes. And then I went and I found so I was getting ketamine infusions for my CRPS at the time, and that doctor agreed to take me on for pain management. And at first she was prescribing regularly, but then in 2016, she, with the whole CDC guidelines, she started lowering me, and she lowered me down to 70 MMEs. And my body, with all of my health issues and stuff like that, didn't react well. And I started having heart issues, like major heart issues. Last year, I thought I literally was going to die. That's from
your pain, because your pain is so high.
Yes. And now I have tachycardia permanently. Right. Okay. Yeah, so and that's what can happen. You could get strokes, heart attacks, crazy high blood pressure. My at 3 a.m. they made me wear a heart monitor. I went from 120 over 70 or 60 to 150 something over 90 or 100, and my heart rate went up to 110 at 3 a.m. So that's when they started sending me to a heart doctor, and now I have tachycardia. And thankfully, I have a doctor that prescribes what I need, but once in a while, and I do feel really guilty, by the way, because I am getting the correct medications, but I still have my diseases and my health issues, and I still have problems. But I feel like so bad for so many people that they don't get it, that like I feel bad talking about it, but like it comes back.
That's real in this community. I remember when I first entered this community, there were people, for solidarity. I'm going to stop taking my pain medication because of the guilt involved. And, that's real. That's another real part of a pain patient's life is if you're fortunate to receive your medication and then you're watching others suffer, and it's hell, and it's going to change. We're going to change that.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why I'm doing this.
I mean, after what you've been through, Jonelle, tell me about those ketamine infusions.
Okay, sure.
What's that like?
Okay, so the way my doctor did it is, it was like a 4 to 5 hour drip. Brian, do you want to come on this? Because Brian used to take me. I don't mind. So Brian's my tech guy, and and my ex-boyfriend, and he was the one that helped me. Thank you. So why don't you tell them about how ketamine was?
Ketamine is it's a very mixed bag. I mean, the results were varied, to say the least. I think probably the first time that she ever had ketamine was probably the most effective. It was what you were basically in remission for what, about three or 4 months?
Yeah, right? I went actually into remission, but I also was doing a combination. I got like stem cell injections in my neck. I changed my diet to like the keto diet, close to. I was working out regularly. I mean, I was really hitting it hard, like with everything. And I went into remission, but like you go out and it's difficult, because suddenly you feel all those symptoms and pain again. I mean, it's not like I didn't have any pain. It's just the symptoms went away for CRPS for a bit.
Right.
No, you're awake. You're awake for this ketamine infusion.
Well,
kind of.
Yeah. Well, you start off awake with it, but then it is kind of a hallucinogenic experience.
Like what was that? What did I hallucinate about the first time?
Well, she was telling me she was in the candy store and she could see and then she was climbing on rocks and she was just kind of out, and then she fell asleep and she was just totally out.
Yeah, and then I don't have memory or track for like a week or two.
You lose your short-term memory. It affects short-term memory.
Very bad. Yeah.
And you really have to, if you're helping the person that's having a ketamine, treatment.
Oh my God!
You have to stay with them because they do all kinds of.
You think you could get up and stuff, and you
they'll
can't.
hurt themselves because your balance is off. Everything is off. It's a very, very interesting experience, but it varies. I mean, she's had probably about 5 or 6.
I've had 6.
Afterwards, it's like she the next day she was fine, and
but
as
it
far
didn't work
as being coherent, but she just didn't have any benefit from it. So it's very mixed.
Well, it seems like it's an instant gratification. So some people know I do date an anesthesiologist occasionally.
Oh, I didn't know.
When he's
okay.
normal, and he would never give people ketamine, never. And he said ketamine is the doctor's way out of treating the patient appropriately.
Well, I think doctors do it now. Yeah, I think doctors do it now too because it's like a big money maker. I mean, they could file these people in. You just give them an IV and put them in a room,
right?
And then
Well, ketamine is also used as a field expedient. Narcotic for pain in the field for the military, and basically they just
and the vets use it for
and
animal tranquilizers too.
Yeah, exactly, and it is it's extremely potent. The idea is that it is supposed to, and again, this is this is just kind of
it's like rebooting your
what
system.
You're reading, is that it attaches to the same pain receptors as what opiates do. So they'd like you to be off opiates before you come in and do this, and then supposedly, it's supposed to reset the pain receptors and allow them to kind of the inflammation to go down, and then to be at a lower pain level after the treatment. And from what I have seen with Jonelle is that sometimes yes, sometimes not at all. And it's a very, very mixed bag. And I've seen stories from people who just absolutely swear by it, that they've done very well with it. And I've seen others that have said that they haven't had any luck with it at all.
It's like, we're not a one-size-fits-all thing. So each person is different. And honestly, each time was different. For me, because due to CRPS, my veins now, they want to put a chest port in. I don't want to do it. So because it takes 13 sticks to find, they had to start giving me IVs in my ankles because they can't pick me. So my doctor that gave me the ketamine infusion said, unless if I get a chest port, you're not getting ketamine infusions anymore. So I'm not going to get ketamine infusions anymore. But the thing is preparation for that, it takes 2 to 3 weeks for me to lower off my pain medication. And then I have to be 4 days clean, and then, going in and getting this, and either it works or it doesn't. Sometimes when it didn't, I'd have to start taking medicine again. Or I was able to, that one time I was able to be off pain medication for about 3 months until the pain just got too much again. But for me, it's just not worth it anymore.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
as an advocate, when I hear a doctor say they're giving their patient ketamine, I'm like, I call that trimming the fat. So you're doing everything but your job. So instead of giving your patient what they need for pain medication appropriately and doing the right thing, you're trimming the fat and jumping over to an animal tranquilizer that I've had some people hallucinate horribly on it.
Oh yeah, some people have
zero benefit.
Yeah, and some people have PTSD from it. All right, this is gross, but there's been times when I was so sick after it, I'd be pooping myself and puking everywhere, and I didn't even know it. And poor Brian took care of me. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was bad.
Well,
and one other thing I was going to say, Claudia, and now I'll turn this back over to everybody, is that one of the things, the worst part of that I thought about was not only that sometimes it didn't work, and also she had all these horrible side effects afterwards, but when she would go off of her pain medication, just kind of whittle herself down, and basically by the last day or two, she was just almost a fetal position on the couch, not moving, and just couldn't do anything because she was in such pain,
because I titrated myself down, but then then I have all my pain. It was really rough.
You reverse titrated.
Yeah.
And the thing was, my feeling is that somebody should not have to put themselves into more and more pain to have a treatment
get out of pain.
that may or may not work. That's that's just crazy. But anyways, that's
Brian,
it.
I have a question for you, Brian.
Sure.
Because we're talking about, so you two were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes.
And you were with Jonelle through a lot of this.
Yes.
So
he was there when I found out I had CRPS and stuff. So since 2015.
Yes.
So I know as a sick person, sometimes it's easier for me to be the sick person than the caretaker. In this case, you're the caretaker.
Right.
What were your days like with Jonelle as the caretaker? So you're working, Jonelle's not, so you're on different schedules, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And when you're out with your friends, what's the conversation you have? Oh, how is Jonelle? And you respond.
Well, a lot of that would be on the phone call, and a lot of times it's like, well, I can't really do anything right now because Jonelle's not doing what I need to stay here because I'm going back to work in a few days, and my job I had before, I was gone for about 5 days, 5.5 days, and I'd be home for about 3.5 days, and so I tried to spend as much time as I could there, helping her, and a lot of times I couldn't do things, because it wasn't because that I just felt that I needed to be there. It wasn't because I didn't want to. And you know what? After Jonelle and I met, and she kind of told me about everything that was happening, I knew what I was signing up for. It's like it's okay.
Right.
Because I realized that because when you care about somebody, it's like you don't really that's not a big deal. That's not a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, and that's one thing I learned too, because like when I was married, it kind of was happening during it, so I didn't know what to do or expect. And my ex-husband always thought like I did it purposely, but I just I've learned to be open and honest with everybody. Hey, we have a call. Do you mind if we take it? Okay, caller from area code 716. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I was curious if if you had any experience with any other like psychedelics, like the ketamine. I have a friend that has used psilocybin mushrooms, microdosing.
Mm-hmm.
They made a tea out of them, and they said it helped their nerve pain quite a bit. So I was curious if you had any experience with that, or if you know of any ways that we can find testing or studies that are open to this. I know about MAPS, M-A-P-S, but they're very small studies and very hard to get into. They're the ones that are doing the MDMA studies for PTSD for the vet. So I guess that was basically my question.
Maybe Scholar.
Okay.
I got nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I only did ketamine. What did you say, Brian? Scholar?
I was going to suggest you might do some research on scholar.google.com.
Okay. Other than that, I really don't. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with it. I've heard of things, but I don't know where they are, and I've only tried, at least with the psychedelics, like ketamine. Now, when I was a kid, I tried MDMA, but that was under a different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, I wish I could.
Yeah,
you know what I can do though? I can look and find more information, and if you want, I could put it up on the website.
Well, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing your story.
For a person with CRPS and what you've been through, and then you'll see a quack doctor, and they'll say, "Well, here's your medical marijuana card." Well, what is medical marijuana? Here you are, you're a professional. I consider what you were doing, that's professional status right there. I've got a kid that's an athlete, and her life, if that happened to her and she couldn't play tennis another day, that would be it for my kid.
Yeah.
So you've come from 17 years old, and if you're not an athlete, you don't know what it is to be an athlete.
Yeah, because I ate braids and did everything over sports. Everything surrounded it. I loved it. It was my thing. It's what I loved.
So we go from 17.
16.
We come to present time. You're 40 years sick. Well, even earlier than that. Probably 12, 13 is probably when you started, or even earlier.
Oh, sports?
When you became.
Yeah, I thought you meant my accident.
Yeah,
my accident happened when I was 16.
Now, what Brian, when you said when you first met Brian, when I first met my man, Ava's dad, I hid my illness. And I said, well, I'm not going to tell. I hid my port. I would wear a Band-Aid over my port. And you kind of did the same thing, it sounds like, with Brian, when maybe like you eased into it. You didn't want to tell him at first. And I think women, if we're sick and we meet a guy, we don't want to, I like this guy. Obviously with Dodo Bird that I'm seeing occasionally, he knows I'm sick because he's a doctor, but you want to hide that illness. You don't want to be the sick girlfriend all the time, because that's a burden too. So it's a burden on the man. It's a burden on the woman. But you just said now you're open. And I think as we get older, we become open, and we just have a screw it attitude. Like, look, this is it. There's a port. And Jonelle, you and I just had this conversation last week. I kept saying, Jonelle, you need the port.
I know.
And you're like, nope, I'm not getting a port. And hopefully, I hope over the next maybe few months, you'll change your mind. I love my port, 12 years. But getting poked like that over and over, and then the emergency rooms, and then the pain, and then the bad days, and you're a fighter. So you've got your boyfriend, you're positive, you surround yourself with positive people. That was big for me. When I recreated myself, I eliminated all the bad, toxic people, threw them all in the trash can, take the trash out. You've got fishing, working out, stretching, meditation, animals. So I've learned 2 things so far. I need a man and a bunch of chickens.
I know. Seriously, I didn't know
I'm going to Google me some chickens tonight, Janelle.
You know what? And honestly, the chickens are probably number 1. So, sorry.
Yeah, you really like those birds.
Oh my gosh,
when
they're
you talk
so
to me
great.
about your birds,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, I'm terrified of anything that flies with feathers. But you're rocking it. You're doing it. And, every week you put all this work in to this talk show, and you have Dr. Klein on every Tuesday night, and you've got wonderful guests on in the community. I mean, really highly respected people. They respect you. And they, you're like, oh, do you want to be on my show? But now these people ask you to be on your show.
Yeah, I've been lucky.
You're really a person that tells. You're a respected person in the community, and I applaud that. And you're like, you are the advocate that people love to love. I can say that about you.
Yeah.
Because every person I talk to says the same thing. I love Jonelle. I love Jonelle. And when I first met you on Facebook, I said, oh, can we talk about the protest? You're like, yeah, come on the show. And I said, this girl is okay. Like, you're cool. And I think that's why you're so respected.
I really appreciate that. I really think it's important that no matter how I feel personally, although I think you're wonderful, but and I like you a lot, but sometimes I have guests on that I don't really like personally, or I don't get along with, or I don't agree with everything they say. But this platform that I wanted to create isn't about me. It's about having that guest on for that day and making sure that they get the information out that they need to get out and make them look the best possible. I'm not here to trip anybody up, do surprise journalism. That's just not how I am and not how I want to run. It's almost like old school journalism, like how it used to be, when they actually did journalism and and interviewed people and stuff, and didn't put their opinions in. And not censor everything. I want a place for us that we can come on and not be censored. And when I first started Conspiracies Against Wellness, my vision goes a lot bigger, but this is just kind of new. But what I envisioned is I would start out this show, and if it hit, then I wanted to create a network, because we need a place. Our United States healthcare system is a big fail, and it's going to bankrupt the United States, and it's going to kill all of us at some point if we don't do something. You know what I mean? They're really messing up. And just the entire thing. I'm talking about health insurance. I'm talking about treatments, medications, how they treat us, what they put out, all of it. It's not done correctly right now, and we really need to fix this. Our community, the chronic pain community, is a symptom of what is going on within them, because it's happening in other communities too. Maybe not so on a big pedestal, that everybo's an addict in this one, but I know it's going on with statins. I know it's going on with
Ehlers-Danlos.
Yes.
It's going on in the Ehlers-Danlos
diabetes,
community,
all
and
that. It's
disease.
bad. Yeah. So I wanted to make something where we could come on and not be censored, and we're not bought off and we're not edited. And we need that place. And when I first started out, on Tuesdays, I would usually have the professional on. And then on Wednesday, I would have somebody on that had whatever topic it was on. You know what I mean? Because I used to cover a lot of other different topics besides the chronic pain stuff. And then I started to kind of go away from that, because when people the suicide started coming out, and I mean, and I found out how big our community is and how wrong it is. I feel I don't know what else to do except this is my way of trying to help. So, and
this is your way of giving back.
Exactly. And I'm so thankful for everybody that's been so positive and supportive. You know, I'm just very thankful for it all. And I feel like we just need to come together on this. Thank you.
So, Jonelle, on your bad days, let's talk about a bad day for you.
Okay.
Because the past few weeks, you haven't been, I mean, we're being honest.
Yeah.
You haven't been great. You've been sick the past few weeks. And I'm like, Jonelle, please go to the emergency room. You're like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, Jonelle, please.
Yeah.
No. So
it's been 5 weeks that I've been puking constantly. You know, I mean, I lost a lot of weight. Suddenly it's bad.
Yeah. And people don't know this about you.
Do you have a picture of my hands? Yeah, like mornings, my hands are always swollen, like huge. Brian's going to put up a picture, I think, of them.
I don't have it right now. Did you send me one?
Yes.
Let me find it.
Okay. Anyway, he might find it. But yeah, both my hands, they swell up. I get this like CRPS rash when I'm in a flare. I puke. It's really, really bad. And then the pain, and I can't get up out of bed because I have other issues besides CRPS, you know, like my neck. It's not my friend. And when they all gang up and want to like be horrible at once, it's really bad.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And, you know.
No, it's a lot. To even get out of bed, to wake up, to even wait, you know, sometimes when you're in that much pain and then the depression hit, just sometimes you don't want to wake up and I know when I was depressed, I would say, oh God, I just want nighttime to continue. And you don't want to see morning. So I know, I want to see you get healthy over the next few weeks. And I'm hoping it's just a flare and maybe we can, you know, hopefully you can get out of the flare soon.
Yeah.
But you're here now and you're doing this show. And you did last night's show with not one, but you had 2 guests on.
Yes.
And tonight you've got a really crazy person hosting your show, but you're still doing it. You know, you're here and you look beautiful. Your hair's done. I can't see you anymore because I don't know what happened on my end. But you have your cute little T-shirt on that said Rebel, and
that's right.
You've got your makeup on, and you look great.
Thank you.
And you're not complaining.
Well, you know, sometimes it, you know, one thing I didn't realize is this show and like working with everybody and advocating and helping, it
probably exchange words at least once a day or maybe twice a day. And he's in so much pain and he's freezing and he just had a tooth extraction. I think you did, right?
No,
Jesse?
I haven't had that tooth extracted yet, Claudia. I'm waiting to get that done. I'm going to go see the oral surgeon here later in the month to get it done. They wanted me to see the oral surgeon. I just got off an antibiotic last week, and it's still giving me problems, but I'm looking forward to seeing the oral surgeon and getting that date in hand to get it pulled soon, hopefully.
Yeah. But Jesse's another example of a fighter. And I know Jesse and we talk about God because we both have a strong faith. And he's at church. He's a great son. He's out coaching, and he's in pain. And sometimes he just has to take a break, just like take a break from the pain. But he's not complaining. And he's living his life, and he's fighting in pain. And he's another hero in the community. And we need more heroes. And when you said CRPS, Jesse's the first person that I thought of, and the Coloma basketball team. Go figure that one, right? You're my hero, Jeff.
Yeah, Jesse, you're awesome.
Thank
Keep
you,
doing
Claudia,
such a great job, and you're an awesome advocate as well.
I appreciate the work you both do, because, hey, that's because you're both out there helping the community big time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
You keep fighting, Jeff.
Yep.
Will do. Thank you.
Have a good night. So Claudia,
You too.
we're at 9:00, so I don't know if you want to keep going or not, but is there anything?
Yeah, we can go a few more minutes.
Okay.
People like Jess, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kid, he fights. When I read his messages, I'm like, well, what is wrong with this country? And he's getting ready to protest. They had to cancel their protest. And he's battling that CRPS. He's not getting what he needs. He's not getting appropriate pain relief, but still out there doing his thing. He's positive. That's what, and there's some people in this community, when you give back, it makes it worth it.
Yeah.
And when you're depressed, my mom always used to say to me, like, if she knew I was in a depression, she's like, the only way you're going to get better is if you start giving back and if you start helping others. And I would say, you're crazy. I would say to myself, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And man, let me tell you, when you said you got rid of the negativity, the day I reinvented myself, I woke up, I said, today's the day I throw out all rotten people in my life, family and friends included. All negative influence need to go. Because as women who are battling pain, like many different illnesses, not one, many, that some people couldn't handle one of our illnesses, you have to get rid of that toxicity. And it just looms in your life, and it's a heavy weight. It's like a 30-pound weight wrapped around your neck.
Yeah,
and
it's like what you give out, you get back. You know what I mean? So I don't want to put that out there. Something else I wanted to mention. I love watching like inspirational speeches, like the Steve Jobs speech when he spoke at Stanford in I think 2005, or General McRaven speech, U of Texas. Like what? Admiral McRaven. Yeah. I love watching that stuff because it kind of gets me pumped up, So that's just something else that I
feel
enjoy
really
doing.
stupid. I thought you were going to say I love watching The Housewives here. I'm thinking you're going to say the Housewives, and you're talking about some Admiral.
I like that too, though. Those are my guilty pleasures. I'm not supposed to say that.
Well, yeah, but those guilty pleasures get us. My favorite thing to do is go on Instagram and look at fitness competitors and what they do for leg workouts.
Yeah.
That's how but that's what I love to do. And people are like, well, what do you do in your free time? That, and I love watching The Housewives. So I think if you find those things that make you happy, whether it has fur and feathers and it clucks, that's the whole key to getting, and obviously getting your pain managed. Because what you've been through, oh my God.
Yeah.
Those car accidents. I got chills when you talked about those car accidents.
And I have to say, honestly, I know most of us have a plan if we don't have it. And honestly, I know I was at 70 MMEs like last year, but it wasn't enough for me. I'm a high metabolizer, and with my heart going like that, it was the first time I really was scared that I was going to die. And I had no control over it. No doctor. So listen to this. So I went to my primary care doctor. She would say, well, you have to get your pain under control. But my pain management doctor did not want to give me anything else. Then I went to the heart specialist. Well, you have to get your pain under control. You know what they told me to do? Go online and go find a Facebook group and see either if you could find a doctor in there or just join a support group. That's what they told me to do for my pain. You know,
because they bail.
Yeah,
they bail, and you know, when I speak with media, and I tell these stories. You know, I'm going to tell your story next week when I meet with one of the media outlets. They're not sick, so when they hear these stories, their mouth drops open.
Yeah,
and they said, "But why can't they get what they need?" And I said, "Well, you know, do you know what Vicodin is?" I was talking to one journalist. He's like, "Yeah," and I said, "Well, how would you feel, you know, if you think taking one Vicodin is a day, you would think, wow, that's a lot." I said, some people need that times 100, just so they can get out of bed.
Oh yeah,
and people don't believe that's real.
Right.
They said
they think you'll die if you take that amount. Yeah, and I mean, you wouldn't even imagine how much I take. I mean, but when I've had to go to the hospital, they're like, they throw a fit. They're like, "How could you be on that much? You're gonna die." Well, you know what? I've been on like stuff for 17 plus years. You know, I have a lot of health issues, and I take it responsibly. I am not going to overdose. I'm not going to become an addict suddenly. You know, this is a lifelong thing that I have to deal with. And I don't understand if they don't want us to have pain medication, then where's the bridge to something that does work? Where's the research where it works? You know, Andrew Claudia was talking about...
You know what they need? We need legacy cards.
Yes.
That's what we need.
Yeah, Dr. Klein's been talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we try to get this, I try to get this idea off the ground in Rhode Island. And my Department of Health looked at me like I was dating a hen. And I said, no, these people some people have had elevator shaft accidents. And they've broken every bone. So when they go to the emergency room, you should be able to take out your card, and it gets scanned through the system, through your state's Department of Health. And now
how do we do it?
You can say you're good to go.
How do we do it? Right. It would be like your Social Security card or your driver's license. So how do we do that? Let's do that.
So in Rhode Island, when they asked, I said, it's not a lot. We all have. So my primary, and this is why my bill addresses your primary care physician should be able to transition into the role of pain management doctor, because he knows you better than any other doctor. Your illnesses are all documented with your primary care physician. Right. That all goes over to the Department of Health database, and there's your legacy card, and it's like a Social Security card, and it's got your number, and when you go to the hospital, they'll already have it. In Rhode Island, your information is shared on one system. So those legacy cards, that's not going to happen in my state for quite some time, because that costs millions of dollars.
Well, we have to find a way. Right. It is. It is a necessity. But what about, like, what if you are dinged as, like, an addict or something like that, but you're not? Because, like a year and a half ago, I had a false positive for cocaine in my system, and I almost lost everything. I was supposed to go get ketamine. I had no pain medicine in me because I was prepping for a ketamine infusion. I was 3 days out for it, and my doctor calls me and says, "That's it. You're finished with." And I mean, it took like 2 hours to get out of them what it was the problem. And thank goodness for Dr. Klein. He was my first call, but he told me the right appropriate terminology, how to speak with them, pregnant pauses. And I mean, seriously, if I didn't do that, I don't know if I'd be even here right now. Because I have people do hair follicle tests, and that's how I put that. Well, that's what I had. But she wouldn't even do that at first. Yeah. Like, she refused to do any of it. It was scary.
Yeah.
You know?
It is scary.
And it happens.
People. And you know, it does. I know. So how do we, I just want to, work with whoever and pull people together and unite so we can help each other. Yeah, I try to take the fear away from people when they go to the hospital. because I get calls all day,
Right.
all night. Can you please advocate for me?
So
But,
you're an advocate,
it's hard
right?
for me to advocate.
Yeah, will you talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit? Because, like, I mean, how do we get one of you if we have to go to the hospital? And
So me, I can't find any of me.
Okay.
Maybe 10 in the country, maybe. And this guy, Mike, that's on the national page, he called me and he's like, Claudia, why we talk about the commercial? Are we safe? Are we safe? And I do think Rhode Island is safe. And I think they're safe because I'm here. And it's because it's such a small state. And the commercial is everywhere in Rhode Island. And it's an issue. We're creating a bill. We've got a fight ahead of us. But I think if you live in Rhode Island, you're fortunate because I'm 5 minutes up the road. And if I think you're authentic, I'm going to fight for you. And when I advocate for a person in the hospital, I go in. A lot of times the doctors recognize me. And I know if my patient is having that PTSD, I don't want to go to the emergency room. Oh, my God. And I said, don't panic because nothing bad has happened yet. Let's see where we are in the emergency room. And I got to be honest with you, 7 out of 10 times when I get there, there's no need for me to be there. But they see me there, and the doctors treat patients differently. Mm-hmm. And the nurses treat patients differently because I'm there. So sometimes, and then usually things go according to plan. What are his orders? What are her orders? What are we doing for the patient? Can I go now? I'm in my nightgown. I want to go home. Is this patient safe here? Yes, everything's all taken care of. And it usually works out. But then I have patients that sometimes things don't work out and doctors aren't willing to budge. Right. And we have that pissing contest. And I mean, I wish if I was in North Carolina, I would go with you and I tell my close friends, people on, my real close people on Facebook, I'll advocate for them in a second.
Yeah.
I can't advocate it. I can't do what I used to do. I'm very effective in person, and I wish other people would be willing to do what I do.
Well,
but it's not easy.
Miss Harris on YouTube asks, I think you can hire an advocate. Can you? She wanted me to ask you, can you hire them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. You can go online and you can Google, how do I hire an advocate? Uh-huh. And there's a listing of advocates. And, a lady in Florida, she has an organization, but there's just not a lot of pain patient advocates. So there's advocates that can negotiate your bill for you. There's advocates that can sign your DNRs. If you're elderly, that can get your estate in order, that can get your surgeries, get everything prepared because sometimes the family's too busy. That's all easy stuff. I was just talking with Bev about it. And I said, God, if my job was just to negotiate bills, I can do that with my eyes closed. That's easy. You can't find those patient advocates, in-person advocates, because sometimes you'll get like older advocates and they see the doctors and they get intimidated. That's not me.
Well, it would be
when
great.
I show up to advocate.
What would be great is if you could like start a business and make sure that everybody gets trained the same, and then have it for every state. I don't know if you could do that or not, but man, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, you're in luck. July 2019.
There you go.
Coming your way.
Well, hey,
it's we want to teach everybody how to advocate.
Yes.
So. You don't need me.
We're going to have to wrap up here because Brian has to get going. I'm so sorry. But
I want to end this show because I want to thank you for sharing your story with everybody. You're loved, and everybody looks forward to this show every week. Everybody listens in. Thank you, Brian. I don't know what happened. We had this all taken care of, and then I lost sound. So who knows what happened?
Technology strikes again.
Exactly.
Yes, I know. But listen, we made it happen. We made it work. Yeah. Sorry to keep you, Brian. And I'm sorry. I know it's.
Well, we should just do it again.
No problem. We'll do it again, and next time it'll all work. So there you go. This was the trial run.
All right. Well, Listen, I'm Claudia Merandi, and I'm signing off until next Tuesday. So I wish everybody a great evening from Carnation, and tune in, and we'll see you soon.
Good night, everyone.
Listening to Conspiracies Against Wellness with your host, Jonelle Elgaway. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and callers, and not necessarily those of EXG LLC, its employees, or sponsors. Copyright 2018 by EXG LLC. All rights reserved.